Hello, this is Professor Brown-Sederberg, and what we're going to do today is look at programming project number 2 in chapter 2 of our text. Just want to give you a demonstration of one of the possible solutions to that problem. Now, what the problem wants us to do is to write a program that uses scanner to read in two strings from the keyboard, display each string along with its length on two separate lines, and then create a new string by joining the two strings separated by a blank, and display the new string and its length on a third line. So our output will be 3 lines. Those 3 lines being number 1, the first string entered by the user and its length, line number 2, the second string entered by the user and its length, and then the third line, the combined string 1 and string 2 as entered by the user, and the length of that combined string. So what we want to do is set our program up, and we know that it will be public class, and we'll use the convention of C2PP2 as we will in this class. We'll have the bounds of our class here, and I'll put in our comments so that we can keep track of our curly brackets. And of course we know that we will have the main method, which is public static void main and then string open and close square brackets args. And our main method will be bound here and here. Now we're going to get input from the user through the keyboard, so we'll have to import our java.util.scanner, and we know that that imports the library util, specifically the class scanner, and we'll use the methods of that class to get input from the user. But in order to use those methods, we'll have to create an instance of the class, and we'll do that here in the main method. And with this, we've created an instance of the class scanner named a keyboard, and associated with that instance, that variable of type scanner, the physical keyboard of our computer, and that's what we did with this system.in. So we know that we're going to have 2 strings entered in by the user, so we'll declare 2 strings. A string we'll call S1 and another we'll call S2. Those are variables of type string. Notice that the variable type string, you must have a capital S with ints, doubles, etc. We don't capitalize the first letter of those types, but we do with string. And here I have 2 variables of the same type, and so I can declare them on one line. So now we'll move it down to the user input, and we'll ask the user to enter in a string. And we know that whatever is passed to the argument println will be printed to the screen. So we'll ask them to please enter a string. Now a string can be anything from 1 word, 1 letter to the Gettysburg Address. Whatever is entered in by the user, we will put into the space S1, assigning to that space with the assignment operator that which is returned when keyboard, the instance of the class scanner, uses the appropriate method of the class scanner, and that would be next line. What next line does is it grabs the entire line, goes right up to the return key as entered by the user. So here we have 1 string entered by the user, and let's cheat a little bit. We'll copy and paste, and we'll get the second string entered by the user and put that into S2. Now what we'd like to do is we would like to print to the screen the string S1 and its length. Now, in order to get the length of the string, we'll use a method that is available to all of the instances of the class string. And a method is a tool, something that can be used, and that tool is length. If I were to type in s1.length and then an open and close parentheses, that will return back the length, the number of characters in the string S1, the string that called the method length. And so that will be returned back to me. Now I could store that into a space, and maybe I'll do that here. What's returned back is an int, so I must declare an int that I'll call length S1. And I'll have another that I'll call length S2. So I now have two variables, and I'll put into length S1, that variable space, what's returned to me when S1 calls the method length. Now what I can do is I can print to the screen the string S1 as entered by the user and the length of that string. So I can do that here with my system.out.println, and what I'll pass to println is S1, the string as entered by the user. What I'd also like to pass is that variable length S1, which is the length of that string S1. Now if I want to pass more than one thing to the method println, to have more than one thing printed, I'll use the addition symbol, which is overloaded. That's called the concatenation operator. And so I'll pass not only S1 but also S1 length. And as I pass these two things, I will have printed to the screen the value of S1 and then the value of S1.length. So let's compile this. We first have to store it, and we'll do that. Oh, I've got a problem here. S1 length. Wrong name. It's length S1, not S1 length. So let me have this corrected. It is imperative that you use the correct variable names. And let's try again. We have a clean compile. Now let's run. And if I enter in the string hello there, that I know has 11 characters, 5 in hello, the space, and 5 in there. All right. I'm asked to enter another one. I'll enter in goodbye there. Now you'll see what's printed to the screen is my first string, hello there, and then the 11, and I know that's the correct number. But that 11 is butted up against the there, so let me add something to my output. What I'm going to do is I'm going to concatenate in between these two variables a space. And I'll do that with just an open and close quotation mark, and then I'll add another addition sign, a concatenation operator. So now I'll have the string S1, a space, and the value of the length of S1. That will print out S1, a space, and S2. Now I'm going to copy this, paste it in again, and so that I will have two statements, one that will print out the value of S1 and its length, one that will print out S2 and the value of its length. So I have the length of S1, the length of S2. So let's compile this. And I've got a problem here. I misspelled lengths up here. No, what did I do? What's my... it's saying it might not have been initialized. My spelling's correct, but what I have here is I'm saying print this value, but that value hasn't been established yet. I declared that I would have a variable, but I didn't give that variable any value. So let me give that variable a value right here, and I will put into length S2 the length that is returned back, the value, the int returned back when I have S2 call the method, the tool, length. So now I have a value for length 1, S1, and length S2. Let's compile. And as I run this, I'll have my first string be hello there. My second string I'll say dog ran. And so I know that my first has 11, my second has 7. And so hello there, 11, dog ran 7. And that looks good. Our third, though, challenge is to print to the screen the two strings as entered by the user and then the combined length of those two strings. Well, I know that I can, using the same process as I did above, I'll send to system.out.println S1, then I'll put a space, then I'll pass S2, and then a space, And then what I'll pass is the values of length S1 and length S2. Right? Add those two together. So I'll say length S1 plus length S2. And that should print the two strings, the spaces, and then the value of those two. And I know that with my example that I just did with hello there and dog ran, that should give me, I guess, 18. Well, let's compile this and run it. And so I'll enter in hello there and dog ran. And you'll note what's printed out is hello there dog ran 117. Well, it shouldn't be 117, it should be 18. You'll note that what I have is this length 11 printed and then this length 7. You see, my compiler doesn't understand that what I mean is this as the length added to this as the length and then print the sum. It takes the argument, just says, you want me to print the value stored in length S1 and then the value stored in length S2, and that's what it did. So here what we could do is be much more specific and say that we want to sum those two, and having summed those two, we then print that to the screen. So let's compile and let's run. And with our same input, we will have hello there and dog ran. And it prints out 18, which is the correct. Right? Well, almost. If I were to print hello there dog ran, let's see, I've got 5 here, 6, 5 more, that makes 11. Here's 12, here's 15, 16, and there's actually 19 characters because when I concatenated those two strings, I have a space in between. So the value actually of the length is not 18 but 19. So this approach might not have been my best. Perhaps what I should have done is created a new string that is the concatenated value of S1 and S2. And so let's do that. Let's declare another string S3. And I will give S3 this value. We will put into S3 what we have in S1, concatenating to it a space, concatenating then the value of S2. So now we have a string S3 that is those two strings put together with a space in between. So what I want to print is not this line, I'll comment it out, but rather let's print out system.out.print through that. We'll print out the value of S3, concatenate a space, and then print out the value that is the length of S3. Now I could go through and declare another variable length S3, or and then pass that value in here, or I could take a shortcut and I could simply say I want you to print out S3.length. That is what is returned by a call to the method length, right, by S3. That will return back the value of S3's length. So let's compile that. Oh, typing error again. It should be S3. Let's compile it. And let's run it. And we'll have this, our first string. We'll say hello there. Our second, dog ran. We see that hello there is 11, dog ran 7. Hello there, dog ran gives me the correct number. That's 19. Now this is only one solution to that problem, but I wanted you to see the manipulation of strings. We get strings in through our keyboard, our instance of the class scanner. We are using the method next line that gets the whole line as entered by the user. We're using the method length that's called by a string, either directly by a string or by a variable name that brings us to a string. And here we see concatenation, the use of concatenation, but we are aware that this, as interpreted by the compiler gave us initially the wrong answer, what we didn't anticipate. We had to be very specific and say, this is the plus sign as in addition, not the concatenation operator. I hope this helps in this solution, one possible solution to this problem.